Washington one night. I looked across the Columbia past the bridge tender's light. There was a fire burning in the jungle, but the man was hid from sight. As the train slowed down, I wondered, who's in the jungle tonight? Who's in the jungle tonight? Who's cooking up the stew? Who's in the jungle tonight? I don't know, I'm just passing through. When this cold old boxcar stops, you know I'd love to get out, but I'm heading east, not catching a fast train south. I'd walk across that bridge, warm my hands by the fire at last, talk about old friends, reminisce about the past. Saying, who's in the jungle tonight? Who's cooking up the stew? Who's in the jungle tonight? I don't know, I'm just passing through. Has anyone heard from Alabama? What about Fry Pan Jack? Did you hear about the Hard Rock Kid? He bought the whole thing a while back. There'd be a scared young kid in the corner, not knowing quite what to do, sitting next to a tired old man who was mumbling in his stew, saying, who's in the jungle tonight? Who's cooking up the stew? Who's in the jungle tonight? I don't know, I'm just passing through. Well, the head end crew is changed, and the air brakes start to groan. He'll soon be pulling east, taking me where I'm going. But I have to stop in Pasco, change trains at daylight. You can bet your boots when I get there, I'll know who's in the jungle tonight. Who's in the jungle tonight? Who's cooking up the stew? Who's in the jungle tonight? Well, I'll soon know too. Oh, who's in the jungle tonight? Who is cooking up the stew? Who's in the jungle tonight? Well, I'll soon know too. I'll soon know too.
Do a little jig to wake up in the morning.
I sprung my hand out and I had no alternative. I had to hold on. He was throwing me around and around, and I got on. And I left the other guy behind, so I could have got on. I says, I couldn't have got off. I didn't want to tell him. I couldn't have got off.
You grip your hands, you don't turn loose. Yeah. I've done that not too long ago, but I don't like to do that. So that really, like you say, you gotta, when you get that grip, you gotta keep on there.
No, when you get to be 85 like me, you can't do that too good anymore. Okay, that's right.
What are you gonna ask?
Why do you grab the front rail?
Front, because if it'll slap you up a boxcar. If you get it, catch it back on the other end, you can swing and break your loose. You go in between the cars, and there you go.
Throws you in between the cars and cuts you into it. Did a foolish thing there. He said, "Why so?" I said, "You never catch the foolish rider. That's called the foolish rider. To catch the back end of a train. See, you always catch the front end going the way you're facing. And like he says, it slams you up against the car.
It's all right, but you hang on.
Momentum hold you on. He'll keep your grip. But if you're going on a foolish rider, eventually you get to the point where you put a fulcrum on your elbow and you're going to
throw you in between
right in between,
and you're gone.
It's gone.
Well, I started as a young fellow. I was 13 years old, and living in Toledo, Ohio, and I didn't like the family life very well that I was having there. So I got to go down to hobo jungles and watch the old men down there, you know, and listen to their stories. And I'd always carry some potatoes or onions or something down there. They'd let me sit around listening. I studied their history and their ways real good. I got to know a lot of them. And finally, when school was out one year, I was 13 or 14. I caught me a freight train and took off. You need very little when you're on the road, and money. I can go to this back door up here and that lady will feed me, I know she would. And I'd cut the grass or trim the trees, or trim the hedges there, or fix the roof or whatever chores she needs done there. If she doesn't have anything, they're usually glad to feed you. And a lot of people say, well, don't you hate to ask that person for something to eat? And I said, no, I'm leaving a blessing there for her. I go to these senior citizen hospitals and homes and visit the old men and the old ladies. And I ask the old ladies, how many of you ever fed a hobo? And you ought to see most of their hands go up. Oh, we used to have hobos come to our house. We never turned them away. We never turned nobody away. And it's in their hearts yet, and they're 80 and 90 years old now, and the old folks, and some of them even remember the names, some of the hobos. So actually, I'm leaving a blessing at her house. When she feeds me, she's going to talk about that for the next 30 years. You ought to see the hungry old dude we fed the other night.
Steam Train, if the hobos are a vanishing breed, what's to replace them? I mean, there should still be a place for.
Well, there always will be vagabonds of some kind. There's many kinds in the country now. There's hitchhikers, there's bicyclers, there's motorcyclists that's just living out on the road. There's rubber tramps. That's a guy with a little camper on the back of a pickup, and they just follow the apple orchards and peach orchards and cherries and apricots, different fruit, picking. And they call them fruit tramps sometimes. They just follow the fruit harvest. And you can follow that all summer, you know. Cherries come on first, and then the other fruit come on. And there's always vagabond people. And there used to be the tramps that walked from town to town. They were purists at walking. Now they're all gone, though. But there's always a certain amount of vagabond people in the country, maybe 1% or something like that of the country. The rest of the folks want a front porch and a rocking chair there and a little garden in the backyard, you know, and that security, and they'll never get very far from there. Some of the cities, you take them on the other side of the city, they get lost. They've lived there all their life, never been on the other side of town. They just want to stay in their own neighborhood, you know, and they feel secure there. And that's what most people want, and that's a good thing. You can't have everybody running around the country.
When you were first riding, how was it crowded? Were there a lot of people on the rails then?
Yeah, I started in the early 30s, and there was a lot of people on the rails. Now, there was quite a few hobos, but the big majority of the people weren't hobos. They were transits. The government called them transits even. And they set up transit bureaus in different cities where they could stop and rest and wash their clothes and get a haircut and get fed for a couple of days, and they could do some chores and work around there, and they could stop in these transit bureaus and get the wrinkles out of their belly a little bit. But they weren't hobos. They were just out looking for work. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I've seen freight trains with 80 of them on there, or 100. Well, they weren't hobos. They were transits. So there's always
people out of work looking for work.
Looking for work and riding around and spending the summer out on the road. And if we get much more unemployment than we've got, of course now we have unemployment compensation. You know, a fellow stays home and draws that instead of being out running around. But they didn't have that in the olden days. And the guy was out of a job, he was broke in a week or two. And by golly, he'd just get out and start rambling rather than sit day after day.